everybody, this is Monty with Flowers by the Bunch. Today I need to make an arrangement that is going to go in a foyer. And so it's on a table that's about, I want to say she said 45 inches in diameter. And so it needs to be pretty showy, pretty tall and showy. So I am using an urn that's kind of a gray, two-tone urn. It has a deep gray underneath with it a little bit of a whitewash. So it's an urn, and I have taken a piece of floral foam and I have used some plaster of Paris to secure it into the container. Next, I added a little bit of Spanish moss to cover up that green foam. It is always important that you cover that foam. You're not going to always have, when working with artificials, you may not have quite enough to cover all of the mechanics. And so I always like to use a little bit of foam to help me cover the mechanics. I'm going to start out with some greenery. So this is greenery I picked up from our wholesaler. I am not exactly sure. It almost looks a little like a boxwood, but I'm not exactly sure what it is. I'm going to take and use my wire snips, and I have my glue pan here. And so I am going to add some glue to my glue pan's here. I'm going to dip that in glue and just tuck this into this foam. Now I'm actually using a pretty sturdy foam, so it's going to be important that you press hard to get it in there. I also have my my metal pick machine, so just in case I need it, I can. So I'm just taking these stems, dipping them right into my glue, pressing them right into that foam. And so we're going to go all the way around, and I'm just dipping each individual stem into that glue. And I'm just taking those branches and I'm just cutting them into smaller pieces. Always be sure to take the tags off, guys. Pull the tags off your stems, because there's nothing worse than having to go back to pull the tags off. So I just cut it into smaller pieces, dip that stem into the glue, and just press that right into that foam. So there's a full stem. I'm cutting it in half. Okay, so there is our base with this greenery. So there's our greenery. And of course, the wonderful part about artificial or faux flowers is they can always be bent and twisted and turned to make them go wherever you need them to go. Okay, next we're going to come in with a little bit of, these are just a creamy colored branch. It's just a blooming branch. They almost look kind of like a little climbing rose. But I thought that they would be really pretty and fill up our space. So what I've done is these actually came on a bush, and I've just taken them and cut each individual little branch off the bush. I am going to dip it right into my glue, and then I am going to just put these branches all the way throughout this arrangement. So just go ahead and fluff them. Breathe a little bit of life into them. Often when you get artificial flowers, they come in a box, and so they're kind of squished. So always give it a little bit, twist and turn it to make it look as if it's fresh, okay? So breathe some life into each of those stems as you're working with them. Please, please, please don't leave them squished. Always give them a little bit of movement and make sure that they look as if that's how they would grow in nature. Whoops, I'm tossing it on the floor. I had a little lady one time bring me her Christmas wreaths. She needed them to be fluffed, and she needed them to have new ribbons on them. And they were really squished. You know how if you go to a big box store, sometimes like Walmart, sometimes they don't fluff anything. They just will stick a flat wreath just out. They won't fluff all those branches. Well, when I got them, I took the wreaths and I fluffed all of the little branches on the wreath. I added fresh, pretty new bows to the wreaths. And when she came and picked them up, she just had no idea that you were supposed to fluff them. She'd always hung them flat, and I was just devastated because I had no idea people didn't know. Okay, so I am continuing to just dip each stem into my glue and go all the way around. So see how it's just kind of giving us a garden-y look. And this was actually 2 of these bushes. I picked this stem up from the craft store. I don't carry a whole lot of pretty silks, and so quite often I will go and pick up flowers from the craft store. Okay, so that's looking pretty. All right, next we're going to come in with some hydrangeas. So the hydrangeas that I have are both green. I have these pretty green hydrangeas, and then I have a pretty ivory colored hydrangea. So for this arrangement, they specifically wanted it to be pretty neutral because they want to be able to use it year round. They don't want it too spring, they don't want it too fall. So we tried to go with more neutral tones. So that's our reasoning behind using the ivories and the greens. I am going to use a little bit of burgundy. And I'm just taking these hydrangeas and going all the way around in this arrangement. And you just dip each of these stems right down into your glue. Now the reason I am gluing this is because it's going to be a permanent arrangement. It's not going to be one that we're going to take apart and move around and this and that and the other. We wanted something that stayed together just in case it was moved. This hydrangea has a really long stem. I'm going to trim it up and stick it in the top of this arrangement. Let me tell you, if you do not have really good wire snips, go and invest in a good pair of wire snips. I actually picked these up from Lowe's. This is a Cobalt brand wire snips. Y'all, they're wonderful. They make life so easy. It makes it so easy. Okay, next we're going to come in with some ivory hydrangeas and just kind of fill in some of our space. Now, the stem of this bloom is kind of flimsy. So I am actually going to take it and fold it in half, and I'm going to use my my pick machine. So if you've never seen one of this is a steel pick machine. You can pick it up online on Amazon. You can even get them over at Hobby Lobby. I just took that stem and I added just a metal pick on the bottom. Now what that does is, and those metal picks are serious, they will cut you, but what that does is it helps give me a sturdy stem to push into this foam. So I'm just taking that stem and I'm just folding it over just like that. You place it right into this pick machine and you clamp that little pick right onto the bottom just like that. I'm dipping that stem right into my glue and I'm pressing it right into the foam. Fold it in half, clamp a pick, dip it in glue, and press it into your foam. And I've got it on my Lazy Susan. I've got my arrangement on my Lazy Susan, so I'm just spinning it around. This arrangement will be seen from all sides, so it's important that you make sure you have flowers all the way around. And with each of those stems, I'm just bending that stem and clamping a metal pick on the bottom, dipping it in that glue. All right. Okay, so there's our hydrangeas all the way around. Honestly, that's a pretty arrangement. Next we're going to come in with these beautiful mums. So this is just a deep burgundy. Now the color of our hometown school, we've got a college here in our town, is this pretty burgundy. And so quite often we will use burgundy in a neutral arrangement because it just, for our town, burgundy works. And so we're going to tuck some of these. They do have that same stem as the hydrangea, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm actually going to move this over. Okay, I'm just going to bend that stem, put it in my machine, clamp it, and then dip that pick into my glue. And again, you see me turning this arrangement so I can see where I've placed flowers throughout. Now, if these flowers need to have a little bit of length on their stems, you can do that by adding a wood pick to the stem to give it a little bit of length if you need to. This is when a pick machine really comes in handy, when your stems are not very sturdy. Because sometimes you're going to get artificial blooms where the stems are not as sturdy as they need to be. But now, if you don't have the pick machine, that is completely okay. You can take a wood pick or even a skewer and tape it to the bottom of the stem, and that's going to help you with the stability of the stem. Okay, so there's our burgundy all the way around. Next we're going to come in with these pretty deep blue colored berries. They actually came, I just found them, I thought they were such a pretty color, and it gives us just a little bit of a different texture, and it actually pulls the color of our container a little bit. So I think they're perfect. Again, they have those weaker stems, so I'm just going to take and fold that stem. Just stick those throughout this arrangement. And I like that these kind of pull the color of this container. I like that it gives us just a different texture, a different color. And you can see I'm kind of taking each individual bloom, working with that one first. And then the next one, I'll take the next color or the next variety and tuck that one in. I just find, for me, I'm a one flower at a time kind of person. One type of flower at a time. And then you know that you got that flower kind of throughout the arrangement, you know. And I'm just gluing each variety right down into my foam. There's our berries. Just about finished with those. All right, so there's our last berry going in. Okay, so there's our berries. Next we are going to come in, and I'm just pulling strings of glue if you're kind of seeing me. Okay, the next thing we've got these are a large garden type rose. You could even probably call it a peony maybe, but just some very large, beautiful blooms. and I thought these would kind of fill in some space. Now, hey Victoria, would you grab me some wood picks, please, ma'am? I'm going to, and never mind, just wood picks. I'm going to show you how to extend the stem. Now, these roses came on a bush, and so, yes ma'am, thank you. They came on a bush, and so they have fairly shorter stems. So I'm going to take, this is just a Koei wood pick. It's a 6-inch in length. I'm taking it and wiring that wire right around that stem, just winding it. And then I'm going to take a little bit of, this is a paper corsage tape, and I'm going to tape those wires right down. Now the reason I'm doing that is because it's less likely for that flower to come off the stem if I tape it, and it just looks nice, honestly. So I just took that stem, I took my wood pick, that one doesn't have a wire. I'm going to take my pick, lay it on that stem, wrap that wire right around that stem. This is a wide stem, it's a little harder to wrap. Wrap it right around there, take my little tape, and I'm just taping that wire right onto that stem. Dip it in that glue, and tuck my flower right into my arrangement. And we're almost finished. I know this is taking forever, it seems. It does take a little time to put an arrangement like this together. Dip it in the glue, press them right into that foam. Okay, now a couple more stems. I think he's going to be long enough to stick in there. Dip him in the glue. I was just checking to see his length, if it's going to be long enough, and he is. Press him right into the top up there. All right, so here comes our next step. Next we are going to come in with some taller branches just to finish off the top. So I've got 3 pretty tall branches, and I'm just going to finish off that top to give us some height. And you'll have to see this in the picture because my camera is not quite high enough. But I am just going to take these branches and press them into the top of this foam just to finish off our top, to give us some pretty height up there. And again, these are just kind of a creamy white colored branch. I liked the branches better than like a large flower. I didn't get that one in. I'm going to trim it off. Better than like a line flower, like a gladiolus or something. I thought a branch kind of gives us more of a... It's not quite as heavy. Branches aren't. All right, and then our last little branch, and then we're going to fill in with a little bit of Dusty Miller foliage. Dusty Miller foliage. I think this gray-green is going to make this urn really look pretty. All right, there's our branches in the top. And again, be sure to kind of bend them and breathe a little life into them. Okay, then to finish off this arrangement, we're going to take, this is just Dusty Miller foliage. And you can see it's kind of a gray-green, just a really pretty foliage. And I thought we would just nestle just a little bit. I don't think it really needs a whole lot, but it needs something around this edge to soften the edge. So we're going to take and cut this into smaller pieces. Just like that. I just cut it in half. And I am going to dip that in glue. And then I'm going to come right here on this edge of this container. and bend that down just a little bit and see how it softens that edge. That edge is not, it's really very a rigid container. If I don't ever want flowers to look as if it's a scoop of ice cream on top of a container. I always like to add a little bit of softness right at that edge, and so often you will see me, when I'm using fresh flowers, you will often see me take eucalyptus, like a seeded eucalyptus, and put it right on the edge of that container. And what that does is just really softens that edge so it doesn't look as if those flowers are just kind of sitting right on top. They look like it's just a softer, it just kind of softens that edge a little bit. We're going to do one more piece of that. I love Dusty Miller. I like artificial better than fresh, and let me tell you why. Fresh Dusty Miller, it needs lots of water, and so it's hard to work with Dusty Miller like in weddings or something because they need so much water. And so I like it better artificial because it will hold up, and it's a beautiful artificial foliage to me. It's just a really pretty artificial. They do a really good job of making it pretty. All right, and there is our finished arrangement that will sit on a large table for your table. Guys, thank you so much for being here with me today. If you have any questions about how we put this together, please don't hesitate to ask. You know you can ask right here in the comments. If you have not already subscribed to our channel, please be sure to do that. You can hit that little subscribe button right down below. And if you'll hit that little bell, it will give you notifications for when we go live, when we have a new video or when we go live. We often go live here on our YouTube channel on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4 o'clock Central Time. So please join us here for a live video. And I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you real soon. Thanks, guys.